Well, welcome back. For the first session of FDP, fortunately, we have with us Professor Kushendra Misra. He is professor in BBAU, a central university located in Lucknow. Sir has completed his PhD from Lucknow University, and he is a fellow of Commonwealth as well. He has more than 2 decades experience of teaching. He has also discharged many teaching assignments with foreign universities in the countries like Singapore, Norway, etc. Currently, he is head of the Department of Rural Studies and Dean of the School of Management and Commerce in BBAU. His area of academics and research is performance management, innovation, and entrepreneurship. To his credit, he had 6 books published with reputed publishers and 154 research papers in very reputed national and international journals, including 14 ABDC ranked and 31 Scopus. With such a nice profile, I'm really thankful to for his agreement to be a resource person for the first session of this FDP. Thank you so much, sir. And with these words, I welcome Professor Kushendra Misra to proceed for the session 1. Thank you.
Good morning to all of you. I hope I am visible as well as audible.
Good morning.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Good morning, you are.
Good morning, participants, and I would like to thank the organizers, especially my friend Professor Prabhat, for giving me this opportunity to interact with all of you on the issues of national education policy as well as the startup climate in the universities or educational institutions. I would not take a very long time in introductions, and I would come straight away to the core issues pertaining to national education policies. I would like to start from the fact that we all are teachers. Even participants are also, most of them are teachers or aspiring teachers, as being told to me by Professor Prabhat. Why this sudden influx of the idea that entrepreneurship should be the core of our education system? Why this sudden influx of the idea that we have to develop entrepreneurial climate in all the higher educational institutions? Why our national education policy has been designed in a way to foster this innovation and inculcating the enterprise development initiatives? Why all this suddenly? This change over from the previous education policy to this new education policy is basically need-based. Our economy, our focus as a global player in education is forcing us to do all these kinds of things. Now the question arises, why and how? And why a teacher who is supposed to teach needs to understand the intricacies of fostering innovation, trying to inculcate entrepreneurship, trying to develop the students in such a way that they become entrepreneurs. Why teacher is being burdened? There are so many people who ask this question to me, and many a times they have logic also, that a teacher is supposed to teach. A teacher is supposed to teach their own disciplines, respective disciplines, and they need to have a say in their curriculum. and why suddenly the entire pedagogy is moved towards the focus of innovation, entrepreneurship, and venture development. Why an educational institution is supposed to have a startup. Now, with these questions in mind and these backgrounds in mind, I would like to start my lecture. And in this lecture, I would also request that you please have your questions ready, because I would like to interact with all of you at the end of my lecture, so that all the doubts that you have, which are hitherto not covered in our lecture, they are taken up. And if at all you have any doubts, any questions to raise, I could sufficely respond to those questions. Now, the first task presented to me by the coordinator of this FTP, Professor Prabhat, is to exfoliate the entire national education policy, especially in the context of innovation and startup. Now, as we all know, and we have been, listening and reading as a teacher, that national education policy, some people also call it new education policy. So they are interchangeably used. So this national education policy is not new. First came in 86, then 92, we all know. And prior to that also, there were a lot of efforts in always streamlining the education policy for the entire nation. Now, what is so new about this particular policy? This educational policy basically aspires to see the changing role of teacher. It tries to transform the role of teacher from simply a knowledge provider to a person who is part and parcel of the delivery mechanism for inculcating certain ideas as well as certain traits and motives within these students. So this overarching involvement is the first thing that this national education policy professes. This is the first thing. Now, if we all see the entire movement of changing this education policy, we will find that economics or the earning capacity or the commercialization is the predominant factor which is forcing the movement of this country towards a certain way. Now, why this sudden from socialism and the social fabric based educational system to more business oriented educational system is being adopted? Why? Now, the answer is very simple. By 2030, we'll have around 60 crore youth looking for jobs. Even today, around 1 lakh students go to various global institutions for higher studies. Now, this is a huge, huge economic pressure. 1 lakh students spend around $25,000. You can easily multiply it, and you will get a very humongous figure of foreign exchange reserve going out. Similarly, the 60 crore youth in 2030, the decade in which we have already put our step, today is 2021, is a huge task for the government to provide for jobs. No government anywhere in the world can cater to such kind of vast, growing, educated student fraternity in terms of providing jobs. So what and all we need to do? The idea is to promote entrepreneurship. The idea is to develop an educational system which is in sync or in synchronization with the global aspects of education. How the education is perceived in the West need to be brought in India. If we don't bring that kind of education in India, then our graduate youth which aspire to go out for working from 2030 onwards in a very major way will find it very difficult to sync in their educational system and their job markets and their economic systems. So idea is to provide a synchronized educational system which is global in its paradigm. So I will start with the startup culture and why suddenly from 2016 onwards, All India Council for Technical Education, AICT, started in a very serious way about this idea of trying to develop this startup culture as a part of education in our country. Why in 2019, Government of India became so serious that it has started pushing the entire envelope of innovation, entrepreneurship in higher educational institutions. India, if at all aspires to be a 5 trillion economy, needs to do certain things in a very different way that we had been doing for the past 70 years. We have to change the way we think. We have to change the way we do things, especially at the educational arena. To foster this entire entrepreneurial climate, there are three things that startup needs to inculcate. First, we have to start focusing on cutting edge research in educational institutions. We can't simply just, as a teacher, we can't simply just sit back and relax and think that the entire research climate will be okay. We have to do certain serious introspections, and then we have to seriously motivate the students to take up research. Second aspect is innovation. Now, Indian teachers traditionally have been very creative teachers. We have been very creative, but we've not been innovative. Now, there is a clear-cut distinction between being creative and being innovative. Innovation basically involves taking creativity to a step further, wherein you actually implement it. Creativity basically is developing an idea which is novel and unique. But to take it to a next logical level of trying to implement it practically, basically what we can say is innovation is more experiential in nature. It's more implementable, it's a replicable, it is more tangible, so to say. We can see it, we can feel it, we can touch it. So idea is that teachers should take the class or the students to that innovative spectrum, from creativity to innovation. Try to commercialize the ideas. After working in, say, 21 years or 22 years in academia and dealing and working in several institutions of India and abroad, I can vouch for the fact that Indian educational system traditionally is one of the best educational system. But we are purely theoretical. Our educational system is purely theoretical. Practical aspects are very limited. I can give you an example. A couple of days back, I was in a meeting with the Honorable Prime Minister and his entire team on the issue of intellectual property rights. And you will be surprised to know that we have been publishing a lot of patents and all every year, theoretically. But when it comes to commercialization of those patents, our educational systems are pretty bleak. Their report card is abysmal, so to say. Now, this is not the criticism. This is the way our educational system has been dealt with. It doesn't mean that if we are not commercializing, it does not mean that our intellectual property rights related issues, or for that matter, patent related issues, are not viable globally. The issue is that we have been trained to do things in a certain way, and now we have to change those ways. And reasons are, as I told, more of economics than anything else. Our educational systems have been delivering a lot of good things, especially our social sciences. They are providing huge amount of pertinent literatures, which are touching the global level of spectrum of knowledge. However, but when it comes to deeper technology related issues, where the overall welfare, immediate welfare, for example, this novel coronavirus, uh, small companies, not very big companies, they have been able to come up with drugs that can cater to the entire virus or pandemic. We are thankful to them on one hand, but again, why our universities could not come up with the kind of uh, researches is something that even government of India is very serious about. Now, if we look at our top 10 universities, we'll find that some of them are, if you value them with the current market economics, you'll find them to be around 3.5 to 4 billion conglomerates in terms of their resources, faculty resources, student resources, lands, buildings, laboratories, their recurring and non-recurring expenditures. Now, such a big conglomerates were not able to produce drugs. Now, there is something which is amiss in this entire introductory part, which I'm saying, and that amiss is clear lack of industry linkages. Even our bigger institutions, for which we are really proud, like Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, or IITs, or for that matter, IIMs, even they lack the amount of integration that India requires at this juncture with the private players or to the market economics, so to say. Now, this needs to change. This needs to evolve over a period of time. This needs to uh, really, it's something which is really thought provoking, and we have to really do something about it. With this background, I will like to start with the presentation. The topic that has been given to me today is the ABC of startups, need and contribution in Indian economy. If someone can change the next slide of basic startups. Now, a startup is an entity that is younger than 7 years. Now, whatever I'm going to tell is basically in the context of Indian systems. I'm not touching the global system because there are certain salient differences when it comes to startups in Indian and the globally accepted systems. Indian startup typically needs to be 7 years or lesser in age, whereas if we look at the global system, it's around 10 years, with an annual turnover of 250 million. And that is in Indian rupees, not dollars. In a startup, if you look at the entire spectrum, you will find that startups basically are the beginners' ideas on which they innovate, and they try to shape up a usable product. And this usable product needs to be able to sell itself in the market. In technical terms, it's a young company that is established by entrepreneurs, maybe in the backdrop of, say, a university or a higher educational technical institutions like STEP SPTI. Now, these ideas require money. They need funding. Now, this is where the government policy comes in handy, this entire policy of innovation. the entire idea of innovation, entrepreneurship, and venture development, the policy of the government comes handy, or we simply call it National Innovation and Startup Policy, which was launched in 2019. Providing funding. Funding is a bigger issue. How the funding needs to be amassed is something that we really need to see. First thing is, Government of India says that every institution, and please mark my words, every institution needs to create 1% of their total budget, annual budget, 1% of their annual budget as a funding for promoting startups. Now, this is a huge amount of money, considering the fact that almost all the central universities, their annual budget is somewhere around 150 to 200 crore rupees. I'm talking about the average. Now, bigger institutions like BHU and other, they have huge amount of money. But new universities, younger universities, in general, they have around 200 crore rupees annual budget. Now, this 150 to 200 crore budget means 15 to 20 crore rupees need to be extracted out and kept separately for promoting startups. So this is something which Government of India has asked all the institutions to do. Second, Higher Education Funding Authority, HEFA, has been created in 2016 itself. HEFA, the entire idea behind HEFA is to promote infrastructural facilities within the universities, like labs, research facilities, student amenities related facilities, classroom related facilities. And for that, a commercialized, on a very simple interest, loans are available that a university can avail. Next slide, please. Well, let me just finish with the funding and then I'll come to the origin of startups. As a teacher, and many of you may act as a coordinator of startups in your educational institution. Some of you might be looking innovation. Some of you might be mentors who will be trying to inculcate entrepreneurial motives amongst your students. Now, every student with whom you will go and ask, beta, entrepreneurship is something that you must focus on. Then the first question he'll ask is, yes, I have an idea, but I don't have money. So as a coordinator of this startup or innovation in your educational institution, can you arrange for money for that kid? Now, there are sources, and important one, apart from the private sector or angel funders, some of the government institutions are also giving small seed money. So there is a TDB, there is TFAC, there is DST, there is DBT, there is MHRD, even AICTE also to all the technical institutions. There MSME also, even ministry is also trying to give certain amount of seed money. Non-governmental sources, private sources are also there. So you can explore the whole gamut. There is a list of institutions which can provide funding to these institutions. Now, if at all an educational institution needs to take funding from outside, then it needs to create a mechanism, a vehicle. So as a teacher, if you are a coordinator of startup in your educational institution and you really want to work upon innovation and startup, then what you really need to do is to create a vehicle, a mechanism through which external funding can come. Now, it is also explained in the National Innovation Policy and Startup Policy of 2019 that you need to create an NGO or a company in your organization, and which will be more or less independent of your overall funding that you receive from other central institutions. And you can also take funding as a corporate social responsibility part. under Section 135 of Companies Act 2013 from private players. Every company needs to have a small portion reserved for their corporate social responsibility part. It is a statutory provision. So they have money, they can share that money with your institution, provided you are serious enough, you approach them properly with a proper project and all, and they will be more than willing to share their resources with you. What are the areas in which government is specifically looking? The idea is deep tech entrepreneurship. This is the focus. So if you say 2021, where the government is looking forward for funding, that funding is basically towards the deep tech entrepreneurship. That means entrepreneurship regarding providing services is not that a welcome step, rather than the deep technology based entrepreneurship are specifically looked at, or tech entrepreneurship as we traditionally used to call it. Now, origins of startups. Of course, we have to go to US for this, if at all we have to look at the origins. But it doesn't mean that in India, we have not been doing startups, or there are not good examples of startups. There are a lot of good examples, especially in tech entrepreneurship. You all know the stories of Infosys and such other entrepreneurial ventures which started from a garage and all that. They are a kind of startups. Of course, they are not the part of startups in the educational institutions, but yes, they started with a very small company and then they grew into being an unicorn, so to say. Now, first evidence of startup, if we want to look, I've been trying to look up, and then you can start from Silicon Valley experiment of the United States. Even in 1976, a book called Silicon Valley Fever came, and this book also traces the origins of entire startup culture, so to say, in US to the Silicon Valley itself. However, there were labs and research institutions, even in US also, prior to 1976. Like, for example, there is a computer giant today, which is called as HP. We all know Hewlett Packard. And Packards were the one which started in a small, as a small startup in one of the great institutions of the United States. Now, history of the startup in India, pretty bleak, so to say. Why it is bleak? Why the, not just startup, even entrepreneurship or the motives of entrepreneurship, they are very bleak. I've been, as a young student, when I was doing research, I tried to understand. One of the faculty members suggested that you write something on entrepreneurship. Now, it was way back in 1990s. And I was like, entrepreneurship, what should I write? And then he has given me a topic also. He said that please write in the area of entrepreneurial motives and why there are certain communities in India which are entrepreneurially so advanced, and why certain communities they don't perform so well when it comes to entrepreneurship. At that time, I found some conclusions, but today I know the real reason. The real reason is very simple. Entrepreneurship requires a kind of nurturing. It's like raising a kid in the family where involvement is there. And this involvement, our educational institutions, unfortunately, are, you can say, they have not been giving this kind of entrepreneurial motives to our students. They have been not nurturing them, because at every stage you have to take up the entrepreneurial aspect. Na? You have to support them at every stage. We have to give them the ideas of taxation. We have to arrange for fundings. We have to arrange for trying to see to it that their IPRs and everything is filled properly, and they are, saddled up and running. Now, these kind of involvements, traditionally, our universities never used to look up as their job. But now with the policy changing, every one of us need to look it up as a part of our duty to be a mentor to a venture that is upcoming in the campuses. Now, if we look at the entire startup ecosystem, then this entire ecosystem, as you can see right now, this entire ecosystem hovers around the ideas, the innovations, inventions, and trying to commercialize those ideas, trying to find the investors for those ideas and trying to sell those ideas in the market to the companies. Now, how universities can benefit out of it? Now, universities require huge amount of funding in terms of we need to pay our salary bills, we need to pay electricity bills, we need to pay water bills, we need to continuously upgrade and develop the infrastructure facilities in our institutions. Now, government is finding it really tough to meet out those kinds of expenditures. Now, government wants that we need to have our own IRGs, internal revenue generation sources. So these IRG sources, one way is to support this ecosystem, generate revenue out of it. Now, there is a clear-cut formula in the policy, innovation policy, that if you support a startup, then you can have an MOU with that startup and you can take from 4 to 6% of their profits annually for the next 10 years for this support that you provide them at a very initial stage. Next slide, please. Well, as I started, then I said that yes, our startup ecosystem is pretty abysmal, very weak. But if you look globally, you'll find that after US and China, we are the third largest ecosystem in the world. But then again, why I said it weak? I said it weak precisely for one reason. Because in terms of numbers, for example, if you see, we just have 26 unicorns. Now, this 26 unicorns simply means that we only have 26 companies which are expected to be billionaire within a span of next 2 years. Now, if you look at the American system, you will find that every university, top 10 university of US, has more than 12 to 13 unicorns in one university itself. Now, here is the data for the countries. Now, we are third because the number of ventures that we float. For example, we have floated 50,000 ventures in 2018 as per the data collected by ARIA, Atal Innovation Ranking platform. Now, this gives us the third position. But these 50,000 ventures are not the ventures worth reckoning in terms of their revenue generation and market capitalization and commercialization of technology. So they are very small attempts. They are baby steps. Next slide, please. If you look at some of the best performers, now the data is still 2019 only, because after pandemic, data has not been collected. So in 2019, there were you will find that Delivery, Big Basket, Dream 11, Ola Electricity Mobility, and Revigo. These are the 5 top startups which crossed the valuation of 1 billion. Now, there are just 6 companies. They have crossed 1 billion valuation. Whereas if you look at the US, as I told, that even in one university only, you will find a huge number of such, billionaires. We usually call them unicorns. If we look at the entire innovation in the startup, we'll find that innovation basically is associated with trying to develop products which can be commercialized. They may have a very different or high level of technology. They may have a very unique process. Their service deliveries may be excellent. Their marketing or other techniques of functional management aspect may have a huge amount of efficiency, productivity, and business performance associated with it. Now, next slide, please. Now, creativity versus innovation, as I have explained it earlier, creativity and innovation can be. Now comes the entrepreneurship. Now, the entire idea of this entire ecosystem that the government aspires, or even educational institutions are now aspiring to develop, this entire ecosystem. What is the end result? End result is creation or procreation of entrepreneurs. Now, what is the entrepreneur? We all know, we all teachers, and we all know what is an entrepreneur. Entrepreneur is basically derived from French word entreprendre, and it was given by French economist Jean-Baptiste Say. I'm not going to go into the details of it. We all know about it. We've been discussing it here and there. Next, please. Now we go to the type of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship can be at a very small business level, and it can be at a very big level. But today's focus is trying to do startups, and startups, as we all know, they are in the range of less than 250 million Indian rupees. Next, please. Why we need startups? A, to cater to the ever emerging need of students who are innovating. Now they need to vent their entire innovation out to commercialize it. Next slide, please. New startup is also important because we have very less jobs, and our economic growth is something that we again need to take into account. I have explained it in the first part itself. The need for the entire ecosystem of startup believes or rely on the fact that we need to create more jobs, and economic growth and requires entrepreneurial ventures. So basically, economics is governing this particular idea in a bigger way. Next part. Now, new startups always bring in the dynamics of competition amongst the existing players. So this is something that, again, and as we all know, competition is something that fuels quality. So if there is a competition, if there is a competitor which is challenging your domain, you need to improve. So performance and quality enhancement is another aspect. Next slide. Promoting research innovation system. Now, research in universities or technical institutions basically takes place in India in silos. We in our lab may be doing great things, but are we in a position to commercialize it? The result shows no. We are not able to do the commercialization part. Whether our labs are in a position to attract private players to invest in our labs, the answer is again big no. Now coming back, bringing values of proactivity into this society. Now, a proactive society is a society which is continuously learning and evolving. It's not a static society. India, being one of the largest democracy of the world, always tries to come out with certain proactive measures, and entrepreneurs always bring in those fresh ideas. So basically, the entire idea of startup, they have a social inkling also. So this social inkling is something that we really need to cater to. Next slide, please. India is emerging to be a knowledge economy, and startup basically is a vehicle which can take India to the entire spectrum of knowledge economy. And again, there are a lot of nationalist people who will call India wants to become Vishwa Guru in knowledge, so be it. Educational institutions are also supporting it. We as an academicians are also supporting it through our startups. Next, please. Now, Lauren Bass has given this stages of startup life cycle. Now, as a teacher of management, I hope most of them are the teachers of management in the audience, and also people who are into the technology spectrum of technical education. They are all aware about the technology life cycle as well as the product life cycle. So is the startup life cycle, except for the fact that certain terms are moved here and there. Now, first is problem solution fit. Now, this problem solution fit is the initial stage of the startup life cycle. You need to have a problem. You need to find a solution. Solutions should suffice the problem. It should fit like a cog in the wheel. Second is a minimum viable product. A startup should be in a position to develop a minimum viable product. Startup should be able to develop the product market fit. Now, problem solution fit will ultimately lead to a product, and this product needs to have a market acceptability. Second is, if you have a market acceptable product, then you need to scale it up in a way that it should cater to market, it should move towards profitability, marketability, commercialization, and profitability. So this is what Lauren Bass says is scalability. Now, this is a graph which explains the entire concept. As we all know, that after maturity, there is a decline, and every startup needs to continuously innovate to see to it that the maturity stage is elongated. Next slide, please. Now, startup versus MSMEs. Now, startup is a temporary organization that is searching for repeatable and scalable business model. So startups will be changing, students will be coming, ideas will be coming. We as an educational institution need to support them. We need to pull up, and then they will ultimately move with their company out of the educational institution. Whereas MSME is giving loans and everything and support to companies which are going to remain there forever. So there is an idea of permanency in MSME, whereas startup is something which will be temporarily existing in our educational institutions. So this is a difference. I'm not saying that startup, they are not permanent, but what I'm arriving to is that startup for a university or a higher education perspective is something that will be a short-lived venture for 2 to 3 years. Now, next part, please. If you look at the classification of MSMEs, this is just for information. Next is the concept of incubation. Now, this is very important. I'll just spend couple of minutes, not more than that, because I have been informed that I have to wind it up before 11. And so incubation is something where you try to, like an embryo grows in some kind of sucker medium. So in that sucker medium, you try to develop those ideas. So incubation, or the entire incubation lab in your institution, is a place where the ideas are exchanged, the ideas are developed so that they can be commercialized. Now, there is a pre-incubation stage, there is an incubation stage, and then there is a post-incubation stage. Post-incubation stage involves the idea of commercializing the entire idea. So incubation is like a mother's womb, where the entire idea is conceived in a pre-incubation stage, developed at the incubation stage, and then commercialized at the post-incubation stage. Next slide, please. Now, who are business incubators, or who can rather act as business incubators? So they are basically economic development organization, government entities, local colleges and universities, which are our focus today for this discussion, because the stakeholders who are attending this faculty development program are basically the stakeholders which are coming from local colleges and universities. Next part, please. Now, next, please. Now, role of educational institution. Now, this is final winding it up. Role of educational institutions in startup ecosystem. We are the vehicles of change. Government is expecting our educational institutions to be the vehicles of this change. Now, new education policy or national education policy is predominantly focused towards inculcating the idea of innovation both in terms of the quality, quantity, as well as the idea of trying to bring in or merge the entrepreneurial motives towards the Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir,
Okay.
you are.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now, thank you. Now, the entire idea of new education policy is something that tries to merge this entire ecosystem that the government wants to create a higher education system with a global plug. B, try to foster innovation. C, try to shift the focus of students from being job seekers to job creators, entrepreneurs. Now, A, government brought this new education policy. B, government also has the National Innovation and Startup Policy. Apart from that, government is trying to focus on NIRF as well as the Atal ranking in the area of innovation, which we simply call ARIA. Now, all these things are trying to bring that ecosystem into universities, wherein a self-reliant university, a self-reliant student is created in a very short span of time. Now, when I say short span of time, this is the last thing that I'm telling you is 2030. We want to transform our educational institutions as well as our students' focus by 2030, because by 2030, 60 crore youth, as I told you, that will be below 25 and they will be seeking jobs as well as quality education. So thank you very much, and thank you, Prabhat ji. I am open to any question if there is some time left with Professor Prabhat, please.
Good morning, sir. This is Dheeraj Gurjar from MIT's
Okay.
Gwalior.
Yes, Dheeraj,
Sir,
please tell.
sir, actually, I need some sources where we can understand IPRs, how to, if we have some idea or we have some patent or some copyright or this kind of thing, where we can find some fruitful approaches to just go for patent or like this.
No, you want books or you want journals or you want Government of India resources? What exactly you want? See, patents and copyrights, you will
Actual
find it.
process. As a starter, as a beginner
Okay.
in IPR or these, where do we should start? Like I have read research papers and something like this, but just to publish is not a matter. I need to go for patent. So how do we how from where we should
Okay.
start and how, where do we approach? It can be
You,
we can be
I'm,
patented online or offline. How just to
no,
just a
you
actually I
can,
need to be practical knowledge. Matlab, if you uh, or someone else has already get patented, so where should we approach? Or if you some kind of sources where can read how to approach to go for patent.
Hussain sir, may I
Dheeraj.
respond to Dheeraj ji?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, actually, Dheeraj ji, you please go through the brochure. In that, I have already given 2 sessions on IPR and how to file IPR, etc. And Professor
Okay.
Rajat Agarwal of IIT Roorkee will be taking those sessions. So don't worry, that will be covered.
Okay. Okay. Actually, my query is just related to practical, how we can approach and where should we
He
fill
will
the
be, he will
application.
be, he will be
Okay.
practical. He will be practical.
Okay. 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 Sure.
Next,
Okay. Thank you.
next question, please. There are so many participants. Nobody is asking question. Okay, so shall we wind it up, Prabhat ji? I'm not able to hear. Audio. Prabhatji, you are not audible. I think your mic is.
Oh, yeah, really. Sir is available for next 5 minutes. You please ask.
Participants are there, and I'm looking at these
Deepakji, I think you
participants.
want to ask
Yes.
something.
Yes, sir. Good
Yeah,
morning,
please.
sir. That's great. Actually, I
Morning.
thought the time bindings are there, time constraints, so therefore I was not asking questions. So the thing was that it was really insightful session. What I wanted to understand, sir, practically, I have been into getting some of the companies incubated and other things. The real problem, rightly identified, is getting funds. So venture capitalists are also having a kind of Seahawk eyes on the new entrepreneurs or new ventures. So that mode is also not very good. Researchers also suggest that it's not a very safe route for new ventures to go directly for venture capitalists. Funding actually, there are number of students who have come up with ideas that I want to work with this. They have even got their companies registered, private limited companies. Now introducing them to investors is the first major practical block that I am facing. How to introduce my students with real investors which do not just want to take benefit of the company and leave them after having get them started up and other things. So, what practically, sir, you have experience and what we can you can experience share your experience with.
Yeah. It's a nice question, Deepakji, and I tried to address it in the first part of my discussion only. And this is something which is the most challenging part.
Correct.
Why this is the most challenging part? Because the entire startup ecosystem will fall to ground in an educational institution if you are not able to generate the funding for it. Now, the person who is looking after the entire innovation council, so to say, of the educational institution, need to explore and develop contacts with first all the government organizations. Now we all know that there are around 15 government institutions which are presently funding the new innovations and all that. Now you can start with DST and DBT. You can start with Ministry of Education, you can have AICT, and then there are two major players. So one is TDB and another is TIFAC, TIFAC, TIFAC and TDB. Now they are giving maximum, TDB and TIFAC, they give annually a large amount of money and they support innovation. They are Government of India organizations. So you can contact TDB and TIFAC. Then there is BIRAC, BIRAC. So these are the three institutions which will presently help you. They have funds also, provided you present with a viable project to them. Next question, please.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Next question, please. No participants? I think, Prabhatji, we can wind it up because there are no more questions coming. It was really pleasure to be here with you, and thank you very much. And I wish that your FDP goes really well. Yes.
I need the concept of incubation. What is incubation period? There is any agency sponsored incubation?
No. Okay.
Uh,
With the permission of Prabhatji, I can answer this question.
Sir,
Incubation
please.
basically is an idea where you have a place in your institution, you sit together with the students, and then you try to thrash out various viable and non-viable ideas that are generated in their mind. Now, to develop that incubation center, you need to create certain facilities. Now, if your question is how to develop that facilities, of course you need fund, you need space to develop that facility. Then second part is now funding for development of for developing such kind of incubation facilities, you need funds. And the organizations that I have named, they provide funds for development of incubation also. Incubation basically is a place in an educational institution where you sit together with the idea holders and then you thrash out and try to find out the best ideas where your institution is going to invest to. Funding will be available from the same funding sources that I have told, like DBT, DST, MHRD, TFAC, TDB, BRAC, and so on. So forth. Any other question?
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Rameshji. Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you to all.
Thank you,
very
Hussain,
much.
sir,
Thank
for
you.
such an insightful session. Thanks a lot for your support. Now, participants, please join AICT inaugural session. Thank you. We will be back at 12 for section 2. So please join for AICT inaugural session, which has started. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Sir,
Yeah. Anything? Any query?
simultaneously we are having regular classes, sir. Please send the video, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, I couldn't listen to you. Please repeat your
Yes.
question.
A very good good morning, sir. How about the sir attendance link and all, sir? It will be like
Don't worry about attendance. Attendance is being captured by this portal only.
okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.